All right. I think we are live. I'd like just to acknowledge people that have joined us. There's a lot of people that contacted me, very interested in this topic. I will ask some of the questions that they sent on Facebook, and some of them had sent me privately so that I can ask you. And I just want to start off by really thanking the people that support this work that we're doing by sharing these posters, by informing families, inviting other people to come. It is always a good feeling to hear people phoning and say, this session just helped me. One of them, I can mention her name, Somila, contacted my wife and just said, wow, this and that session made a huge impact on me. And I appreciate that, because the purpose for these programs is so that people can really be inspired, people can be helped, people can be, encouraged, supported. They can feel that whatever situation they are in, they are not alone. There are so many other people out there. I can see people are coming in. And so we're just going to wait a couple of seconds before I start introducing our speaker. I just want to ensure that it is indeed live. I can see. Live. Yes, I can see Younger Duma. Good to see you, man. I can see Younger Duma, and I'm sure there are others. For some reason, when I was younger, I always miss some people when I look at the program afterwards, and I see comments that I never saw when I was live. And for those people, I just want to apologize. It's not that I undermine your comment. I'd like to read as many comments as possible, but I mean, I'm not that technically savvy, and so apologies for that. I can see Bongani Jack is watching. He was here. The last guest I had was Bongani Jack, is joining us on Facebook. Thank you so much for indulging us with your presence. I can see people are joining on YouTube. This program that we're going to be doing today is so powerful and so impactful and so important, such that one even said to me, you're not going to address all the issues in 1 hour. And so let me start by introducing my guest speaker today. I just want to address her and make sure that I say exactly who she is, because Zianda, as far as I can see, I've been watching her from a distance. She's really doing a great job. I listen to her, I watch her. I really appreciate the impact that she's making on so many people, and it is for me as well. And so in this program, we profile stories and individuals, and organizations, and we traverse topics that give us insight. We look at people that are making an impact in society, people that are trying to impart information. And so today I'm honored to host such a woman, which I've come to respect because of her expertise in her craft. She also has a unique ability to explain psychological issues in simple, clear, and yet effective ways. And I really appreciate that, because I'm not a psychiatrist, neither am I a psychologist. I only went up to the second year of psychology at universities, Zianda. So, and so sometimes you're going to hear me mixing up things in my question. Just ignore all of that. Just go ahead and give us your input. And I wish I would have done further, but my lecturer was just horrible. Firstly, I think he was trained in Afrikaans, and so he couldn't explain things to us, and it was tough those days. And allow me, therefore, to introduce to you Zianda Mavumengwana. Zianda is a clinical psychologist. She has experience in both private and public sectors. In fact, she runs her own practice in the Eastern Cape. I think you were in PE Ziyanda? You
I was, but I'm in Tata now.
Oh, you're in Tata now. Okay,
Yeah,
all right. Okay. Um, she is now based in Umtata. She's currently doing her PhD at UCT, the Department of Psychology. And I'd like to welcome you, Ziyanda. Please say hello to our viewers today.
hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and sparing an hour of your time. I promise it will be valuable. We're not going to waste your time, but
No, we're
lovely to
not.
meet everyone. No,
No, by the way, Zianda is an honor. Is an author, and as well as a broadcast or a podcaster. Of the book is called "You Are Okay." Am I right, Zianda?
it
All
is
right,
called
you are
that. Yeah.
okay. I think there's a subtitle. She's going to tell us a bit more about that, and she also has a podcast by the same name. And if you want to know more about what she does and the stuff that she talks about, I invite you to subscribe to her podcast and join her there. Zianda, I just need to make sure that I keep in touch with the people that are joining us. I see Naguzama. Zama, by the way, I was in your hometown, Peter Marisburg, this past week. It was so happy to see guys there. I haven't seen in years. Beauty Kotela, Beauty Lacha Kotela. Oh, Chawegas, Vibona man. Uchi apa Uchawegas, Beauty Kotela, looking beautiful, Zianda. Nanku Usnazo Kwelichana. And by the way, Zianda was saying, she really put a real effort to really look nice for you today, and she is looking so nice. And I said to her, I feel like underdressed now because of my hoodie, but it's cold here, and so apologies for that. Nangu Snarara Snazo, good to see you, Nkoskazi, Yosukwini. Good to see you, Uti Uzama. I'm looking forward to this hour. So do I. So without wasting any further time, I think let's get on with it. Zianda, just tell us briefly about yourself, your background, and how did you end up doing psychology?
So Zianda is born and raised in Tsomo. That's actually where I'm from. That's my hometown. I'm from Tsomo. So I
Okay.
was born in Tsomo. My family is from there. Both of my parents are actually from Tsomo. Their parents are from Tsomo. So Jay,
Yes.
I'm diluted from Tsomo. No two ways
Ungumtsomo
about it.
nje, usuke ezantsi
Tsomo
uyotsho
straight
phezulu.
through. So I stayed in Tsomo for a large part of my childhood, then moved to Queenstown around adolescence. So I finished my
Okay.
schooling in Queenstown. Queenstown is sort of the other home, where I spent
Yes.
the rest of my life somewhat. So school in
Okay.
Queenstown, then moved to PE for varsity. I did all of my degrees in PE except for this current one. So PE
Okay.
is also the town where I spent a very long while of my
Yes.
adult life. Yes, so
Okay.
I am a daughter of Nobatini Mnyila and Mzwandile Mavumengwana. I
Okay.
have a bunch of siblings. I have a daughter, a
Okay.
psychologist by profession,
Nice.
and yes, a development enthusiast and just a teacher. So I think
Hmm.
psychology is just an avenue to teach for me, but even if I wasn't doing psychology, whatever I'm doing is likely to be a teaching tool. So whether I'm writing a book, whether I'm sitting on the couch, on the channel or podcast, whether I'm
Hmm.
invited on platforms like this, but I think that's the actual hard work. Psychology is just the head, that my
Okay.
love for teaching war. But technically,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, my parents have actually never prescribed a profession for us. That they've never
Okay.
given an indication of where they'd like us to go. But
Yeah.
they did tell me that I'm not allowed to be a teacher.
And here you are now doing a lot of teaching.
Yeah, so both of them were teachers, and I think they just wanted, a further yardstick that we've gone this
Yes.
far. Our
Mm.
offspring should do something further
Yes.
than teaching. So they didn't tell me what to do, but teaching was subliminally discouraged. And yet I came back right into it. I didn't
It's
really choose
amazing.
it. It's
It's
amazing. I didn't
amazing.
choose
So because
psychology
it's
as a
natural. I
profession.
mean, those people that did
Natural,
teaching, they learn
natural.
didactics and pedagogy, but you seem to be natural even without all of that.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
so I think I was a teacher at heart. I walked into varsity as a late applicant, and it was either law or psychology, and I just picked one. And that was it. So there wasn't even a plan to study psychology. It was just a
Wow.
matter of what was available. And I applied and
Yes.
I got in and I just went with it. Yes.
Wow, wow, wow. That's that. I mean, look at now, look at what you're doing with all of that combination of skills of teaching and psychology. And you seem to be a natural in this field of psychology. And I think Africa and South Africa should be proud of people like you, Zianda, who are really not just educated for themselves, but who are sharing their information with the world. I mean, our country, especially the formerly oppressed people, need a lot of psychological help. And so now I just want us to move quickly because you did psychology. We don't get into all of that, but you did psychology, and you are now doing your PhD at UCT. You also have your own practice. Tell us about the kinds of services that you provide there.
Yeah, so people who know psychology broadly, we know that psychology has different registration categories. And I'm a clinical psychologist. So that part of
Okay.
psychology is the mental illness part of psychology, the pathology, that something has gone wrong, things are not functioning as they should. So I'm in that
Mm.
psychology, on that branch of psychology in my practice. So a lot of my work has been psychiatric hospitals until I decided to quit my government employment and move to private practice. So even in
Yes.
private practice, it's in usually your clinical depression, your trauma, your anxiety, and
Mm.
all of those things. And I suppose
Yes.
just normal developmental challenges as well that I'm
Mm.
receiving in private practice, but I'm trained as a clinician and worked in the clinical space for the longest
Okay.
time before I decided to venture out into private practice.
Wow. And basically that's powerful to because we need a lot of clinicians. I just need to say this disclaimer to all our viewers out there. This program is really for general information sharing and education. And anyone who we're not going to address specific diagnostic issues about your specific issues. But if you want any support or any psychological services, I invite you to approach either Zianda or any other
I've lost Mr. Kulati on my end, so I'll just wait for him to rejoin. I think I'm still live and I'm still visible. So let's just give him a few minutes. Maybe there's a bit of a technical issue.
All right, Zianda, can you hear me?
Yes, I lost you briefly, but I
Yeah,
see
I'm
you
so
now.
sorry. I just want to apologize to our viewers. I really don't know what's happening here. We've been having a bit of load shedding, so I suspect it might have something to do with that. Please accept my apology for that disconnection there. All right, but we're back on track. All right, where was I? That really threw me out of whack.
Yeah, so I
For
think you had just thrown a disclaimer out there that it's not going to be a diagnostic platform, and
yes.
we lost you right around that time. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let's have that. If you want to have any support, please go ahead and and get that support from a professional. All right. Zianda, you've written a book. We're going to touch base briefly about that book. The book is called You Are Okay, but the stuff that happened to you wasn't okay. Just give us a background to that book. Why did you write the book, and what's the gist of it?
I think the extension of teaching again
Mm,
was really what informed the book. And it's not everybody that will get the opportunity to sit down across a psychologist on a couch. Psychology is very expensive,
mm,
and healthcare is overburdened. So, though there are government psychologists, getting around to seeing one and seeing one regularly enough for your life to transform is a luxury most people don't really have access to. So it was
yes.
also an access issue that what people come to me to learn can really be
Yes.
packaged in particular principles that can change their perspective. So it's just a combination of things that I'm like, globally, if you get to sort of shift your perspective and adopt this lens of thinking, I feel like people can do okay on their own, right?
Mhm.
So the book is really that reiteration that most people inherently, all people inherently are born worthy. We a clean slate, but as soon as you are born into some kind of story that has
Mm,
absolutely nothing to do with you. You know, that one divorced that one denied paternity, that one is sick with that thing, this one abruptly dies. But as soon as life starts scripting an experience, you know, it drives your life in a particular direction. So much that if
yes.
these bad things happen frequently, it's very hard to remember the center of
Mm,
you and your intactness and your wholeness. Because if life injures you frequently, you end
mm,
up being broken and you end up feeling broken that most people can't map their way back. And that book is a reminder to almost package the kind of things that go wrong, give them a name, make you understand that loss was the problem. The trauma was the problem. The life narrative was the problem. But
mm,
you, as an individual, there's actually nothing wrong with you. So you can start peeling back the layer to go search that whole part of you that I'm fine. Before my dad said I'm not his child, before my parents split up, before I had to be a perfectionist in order to cope, before all of these things, as a
mm,
human being, there's actually nothing wrong with me deep on my
mhm,
inside. And all of these acquired injuries can be cleaned, can be polished, can be understood, and I can move on. So the book is a little collection of my best psychological tools that I've
mm,
learned to say, this is why things went wrong in your
mm,
life. This is what
mm,
they are called. And how you are behaving is testament to that things indeed went wrong. And if you can sort
mm,
of package them, you can think clearly and see clearly, see yourself outside the mess, see yourself outside the injury. So it's my
mm,
tool to say, just blow the mess away, call the mess a name, you know.
mm.
So that's why it says the stuff that happened wasn't okay. But you,
Okay.
once you package them well and understand them well, you only
Mm,
left with you in the mirror. And once you
mm,
understand that, you can implement your purpose a bit better, find your light a bit better, because the stuff that is outside of you has now been well understood and well assigned. So that
mm,
is the long
mm,
and short
mm.
of the book.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
a journey back home
Jennifer.
kind of book. Yes.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really powerful too. I mean, it sounds like a lot. I wish I would have read the book before this interview, but it just couldn't happen like that. I'm gonna order my own copy. But later on, I will ask you to please let us know how we can do that and how we can connect with you. I see many more people have joined us. Princess Makubalo Omhle. Okay, I can't read this. Noba Matanzi or something. Makhatliso makwe. Makhatliso, good to see you, sisi. Tangana Qila Babalo Andilwe Ndwandwe. Sisbaxolile Zwane, good to see you, Sisbax. Kenneth Thomas Matia. Man, good. Thank you so much. This man is really supportive. He shares our messages all the time, and I like his comments online. Really great, my brother. Tem Kosmatika, good to see you up and Ndiyabona ifami yakhula mfundini. Unati Kelte, good to see you. Sis Mike Duduzi Dube, Eden Tunes, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining, all of you that I could read here. Now, let's get into the deeper discussion now about this issue, which is today handling a relationship with a narcissist. Just please define and describe a narcissist. What is that?
Globally, for the lay person, to understand if they've been dealing with a narcissist, I would say the most basic form, to describe a narcissist is an inability to connect with other people, an
inability to connect with other people.
And I need them to understand the word inability, not a struggle, not a difficulty, an inability to form an attachment with the next person. And once
I need to listen carefully here.
Once you begin to appreciate the inability, so much about narcissism starts to make sense to you, because with these relationships, because of this inability, one of the characteristics of narcissism is lack of remorse, right?
Lack of remorse.
Lack of remorse and lack of compassion. Not being appreciative of your impact in other people's lives, because a narcissist, by definition, everything is an extension of them. It's a self-centeredness disorder in that I cannot connect to the other. Life is about me and me alone. I can't journey well, with another. I cannot form an attachment to another person. So in the absence of that, you are just attached to you. Everything is about you. So narcissism is well understood to be a disorder of arrogance, that you think everything is about you. But I need people to understand it as an attachment injury, that this is a person that cannot form a meaningful attachment to the next person. The rules of attachment don't apply, to them. They don't understand them. They lack the tools to actually connect to another person. And once you understand that,
I know you want to put this, and I want you to give that chance. But I just have this image of an attachment injury. Can you just unpack that a bit more? What does that mean?
Because we are social beings, we actually have needs that need other people. Already as a person, you are born into a social context. Human being survival is almost immediately socially dependent and environmentally dependent. So everything else from the time you are born is another person responding to you, attaching to you, attuning to your needs. And life is an ongoing interplay of you understanding the world as represented by your caregivers, and how it works. That is called attachment. This ongoing feedback between me and other people outside of me. So when something goes wrong there, whether it's neglect or sudden death or abuse, when something goes, we understand attachment in a bit of a skewed way, because those people outside of us are supposed to teach us by attaching to us how to attach to other people. So once the template goes wrong, we call that an attachment injury. And most people, whether narcissists or not, have multiple attachment injuries, but narcissism is the worst of it, that something just got broken and they don't know how to form a meaningful attachment to somebody that is outside of them.
Wow, you talked about this self-centered sort of disorder. So and you use the term injury. So it sounds as if and you use the word first, the third word, which was inability, and you put an emphasis there. It sounds to me as if this person is ill, he or she cannot control this. It's something that is within them. Is that correct?
That is essentially what I'm saying. Which is important to understand for people that are in these relationships, that this is in almost inherent brokenness. There's something very, very wrong going on inside of them. Because narcissists can't account and can't appreciate what they've done to you. An apology never comes, and an admission of harming you never comes. So most of these people tend to think, in the absence of an admission, it must be me. There's something I'm doing wrong, right? So that's why I need them to understand. They're never going to admit it. They're never going to care that they hurt you. You need to understand they are unable. Once it's a good way to depersonalize the narcissistic issue, that this isn't a you problem. It's not that you're not special enough to fight for. It's not that you're not special enough to apologize to. You aren't even centering much as a feature, as a separate individual to them. Inside of them, they don't have the ability to give you what you need. So asking harder, crying, writing long messages, isn't actually going to achieve the desired outcome, because you are doing normal attachment things in a situation that actually has zero, governance to attachment rules. So this thing of communicating you are doing, this thing of confronting that you are doing, you are behaving how a person should behave in a normal attachment situation. But this is not that. This is not a normal attachment situation. Normal attachment rules are not going to apply here. So that's why they're scary, because there's no manual to deal with this. This is why each psychologist's advice will always be walk away. Walk away. Because repairing an injury needs reciprocity to repair it. All injuries in relationships can be repaired because there's an assumption that there is a relationship. Here, by definition, we are saying this person cannot relationship with you. There is no relationship. You are relationshiping alone.
This person, so you sort of don't exist in his life. It's all about him, not necessarily you.
You don't. And this is hard to understand, in that the typical narcissistic pattern always starts with love bombing, devaluing you, discarding you. So it's confusing for most people, because love bombing is admiration in excess. It's a little bit overboard.
You said love bombing.
Love bombing. That is the most obvious red flag when you're dealing with a narcissist. They love bomb you. So they go too hard in the beginning at loving you. And it's confusing because a healthy person trying to impress you would do the same thing, right? We all put our best foot forward, in the beginning of a relationship. That's why most people can't tell you that you are a narcissist until much later, when you can't sustain the love bombing. So I also need people to know a healthy relationship in the beginning and love bombing look identical. So there's no way a person could have known that they're engaging with a narcissist. Right. There's no way. It is only in hindsight, when you are not getting what you need, when the story is not adding up, that you begin to wake up to the possible narcissism. But you can't tell a narcissist from outside. This is why all of us are vulnerable, to falling in love with one, because there is no map that says this person is a narcissist, because it begins by love bombing. Loving you in excess. The phone calls are excessive. The gifting is excessive. They attune to what you need and deliver it, because they don't have a personality of their own. They feel like a soulmate almost, because they have no issue adopting your personality and your hobbies and your interests. Most people must that are different. It's a bit awkward in the beginning. We're figuring each other out. And narcissist feels like a glove fit.
A glove.
Because they will mirror you and what you need. With no resistance, because there's nothing to resist within them. Most people, it's a tough balance, to merge with another. Whereas a narcissist gives you on a silver platter what you need. So most people always feel like, what went wrong? They were so good to me, I had a foretaste of their goodness. I lived it. I'm not imagining it. This is usually their confusion, that I've lived with this person and they are not evil. So it's hard to convince survivors of narcissistic abuse that the narcissist is evil, because they have proof. They have proof of having
the love bomb
when they were so kind to them.
Wow.
And they are desperate to get that person again. So it becomes this ongoing chase of them over communicating, over clarifying, because to them it's like, you have the ability. I know it. Why can't that person come back? And it's this chronic digging of, I'm desperate to reach resonance.
That person that I know.
They are convinced that that person exists. The beginning of healing is to admit that the fantasy was fabricated. That's the beginning of healing. That you're not wrong. You're not imagining it. you had a different intention in this connection.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were never going to follow through. And
Mm.
what you saw is your fantasy. It Once you admit that, you're in a better position to reflect on the relationship.
Mm. Mm.
That
Mm.
is not
Mm.
really who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not
Thi-
reality. But love
this is
bombing,
one tough one.
it's tough.
Wow.
It's tough in that if people survive narcissistic abuse, they're amongst the most courageous people you've ever seen.
Mm.
you
Mm.
know,
Mm. Mm.
because
Mm. Mm.
overt abuse, physical abuse may be more harmful, but it's
Mm.
also obvious. It's not confusing.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
punch is a punch. You can't misread it as something else.
No.
So it doesn't
Mm.
quite mess with your psyche in the same way. Whereas
Yeah.
narcissism erases clarity and your
Mm.
capacity
Mm.
to make a decision and to access your instinct,
Yeah.
because nobody is going to admit. And I usually say narcissists are, they transgress by omission. They
By
don't
omission.
do anything to you. They just don't do what they're supposed to do when they're dealing with a worthy human being. Do you get me?
Mm.
So they
Yes.
withhold things necessary for humanity from you.
Oh my God.
So you
Mm.
can't really pinpoint what they ever did to you, yet you get
Mm.
emptier and emptier every
Mm.
day. And their hands are clean, and you struggle to articulate to society what is going on. So they're
Mm.
likely to repeat it again and again, because you can't hold them accountable to anything because they did nothing to you. That's the whole
Mm.
point, that they did nothing to you. The neglect, the withholding of love and respect, the withholding of affirmation, the withholding of care is the hallmark feature of narcissism. They don't nurture, your humanness. They don't treat you like
Mm.
a human being, but they
Mm.
walk
Mm.
away with their hands clean because essentially they did nothing to you.
Yo.
So they kill you by not killing you.
Wow, wow, wow. You see, this is the thing about Zianda, guys. You have a way with words that explains something so well that I know that I have some sort of script that I wanted just to follow, but I mean it's amazing the kind of stuff that you are saying. This love bomb, you feel overwhelmed by this love, and you experience, it. But the way that you talk now, when you use the word "you," it assumes that the "you" is the person who experiences this treatment. Can a person who's a narcissist know that they are? So, and by the way, how do you determine that a person is a narcissistic? Is this the clinic? Does this need a clinical diagnosis?
It does. It does,
Okay.
because remember, pathology is on a spectrum.
Mm.
You'll meet a lot of selfish people in your life. Narcissism, by definition, is selfishness, right? A
Yeah.
person who, we all here for their entertainment, we all here for to supply their needs. They're not gonna do anything that you need. But you're gonna
Mm.
meet a lot of selfish people in your life. They're not all narcissists. You're gonna meet a lot of arrogant people in your life. They're not all narcissists. You're gonna meet
Mm.
manipulative people in your life. They're not all narcissists. So narcissism, to issue the diagnosis, is actually a very, very sensitive clinical matter,
Mm.
because
Mm.
people have personalities and we don't always like their personalities. And their
Yeah.
personalities
Yeah.
are often problematic, but that doesn't make them narcissists. And even as a clinician, it is a very tough diagnosis to make.
I
One,
can
because
imagine.
narcissists don't often present to therapy because they believe nothing is wrong with them.
That's
And when
it.
they do, it's the same thing in therapy, that it starts with not the love bombing of presenting their best qualities. So they usually come for something else, never the
Mm.
narcissism, you know.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you circle around these superficial issues, and it is this feeling that exists in their relationships of not accessing, the genuineness in them, the real remorse and humanity, that even makes the clinician to start thinking there's something not adding up about the presenting problem. So even as a
Yeah.
psychologist, it's a tough diagnosis to actually make. So I don't
Hey.
want people to issue the diagnosis left, right, and center. Be that as it may, be that as it may, I
Mm.
need people to always look at themselves and
Yeah.
wonder is this person meeting my relationship needs, irrespective of what their issue is called?
Okay.
Because most people can tell that there's something wrong in this relationship. I don't get what I need. And
Yes.
don't
Yes.
panic about labeling them. You look at you, that my needs are
Mm.
not getting met. I'm experiencing pervasive neglect in this relationship. This person never accounts to me, never respects me. And this is enough for me to decide I'm not getting what I need and walk away. But people always long to understand them, and dig deeper. What happened to you? I want to help them because it seems like no normal person would do this. Something bad must have gone wrong in your life to behave this way. I'm going to fix it.
Ngesintu sinendawo ezithi uthakathiwe ngenye ixesha or something like that. There's a witchcraft
usually
involved.
attract people with a rescue complex, people with a helping need and a longing to understand you, help you, walk you through your difficulties. Don't play this game with a narcissist. Don't play this game with your narcissist. A narcissistic relationship is almost a 2-0 relationship that the narcissist loves themselves. That's why they chose you. They choose well for themselves. As much as when you're already empty, you may feel like I meant nothing to this person. It's not true. They would have never gone for you if you were meaningless. Never.
Yeah.
Narcissists are empty on the inside. So
They're empty.
They're empty on the inside. So they host on something that is full of supply. They could never attach to you if you have nothing to give. So I don't want you to ever fall for the trick that you are worthless just because they treated you unwell. They would have never gone for it. They love themselves so much that they would never partner up with something that wasn't of value.
Wow.
And because you are loving, you also love them. Can you see the wrong dynamic here? That you love them, they love them. So basically, nobody's loving you.
It's double for them.
You love them. They love themselves. And
wow.
As a result, most people will come in and say to you, I feel empty. They never say, I'm dating a narcissist. It's the chronic fatigue of, I'm chasing
emptiness.
a goal. I'm not reaching this thing that I'm longing for. It's like I'm sucking. I usually tell my patients that dating a narcissist is like giving a baby an empty bottle. You look fed.
Empty bottle.
There's something in your mouth. Society thinks you are fed. You look like you are in an intact relationship, but you can tell that nothing is coming out. You can tell you are getting malnourished every day. Yet all of us, it seems like, to us. So they come with issues like, I'm empty on the inside. I'm tired. And they come with confusion. They can never tell, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Because no validation is going to come. No apology is going to come. And an abusive person is not abusive every day. So there's also these glimpses of that love bombing person you used to know, because narcissists can only hook you by manipulation. There's no other way they know how to keep love. Except manipulate you, trick you by love bombing you, lie to you, erase evidence of their infidelity. The only way they know how to buy your affection is to manipulate you into it.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So there's a lot of manipulative tactics, things like breadcrumbing, where every now and again they throw you a glimpse of goodness. So just when you're starting to retract, you see a glimpse of this thing you are longing for again, and you stay. And then they called to you again. And once you start thinking it's adding up, these people are cold, they throw you a lifeline, another breadcrumb. So you're always in hope that real bread exists here, because the abuse is not every day. The abuse is not overt. It's subliminal. So you start feeling like I'm crazy, I'm sensitive, I'm a bit dramatic,
Yes.
And remember, because they're untouched by you and your drama and your tears, narcissists are generally very calm, very, very calm.
Sure.
So you here losing your temper to the injustice and the mistreatment, and you are just all over the place because you are desperate. So usually the partner looks unstable, not the narcissist. It's you and your accusations,
wow.
and your and all of your drama, and they're looking at you like, articulate. So hence the victim always emerges as the crazy one.
Okay. Now, And I want to ask this question like this, because we normally think of narcissism in more romantic relationships like marriage or partnership, whatever the case may be. And I want you to broaden our understanding that uh, can this happen in business relationships, in parenting, and all of that. But before we go there, like, if can a person who is suspecting that they are in a relationship with a narcissistic person, let's say they're listening to this, all these characteristics you're giving us, can that person approach you as a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, on that basis, and and just say to you, do you think my partner, my husband, my wife is this, or do you only deal with them on the basis of their own psychological needs that they bring to you?
No, usually it's always a suspicion. Most people that are in a narcissistic relationship get the light bulb moment in therapy, when it's like, because
Mm.
we've never met their partner. So we're telling you
Yeah.
that if you were in to be dating a narcissist, this is what it would feel like. And these are the
Okay.
things you would experience. And then the light bulb moment is on some,
Pa. Mm.
wait a bit. Why would I
Mm.
feel these things you are saying people only feel in narcissistic relationships?
Mm.
Because
Mm.
I didn't come here thinking that they are. And some people come on the suspicion that I keep hearing. That's another big red flag. When you start
Yeah.
Googling if your partner is a narcissist, normal people dating normal people don't wonder if they're narcissists. They don't. So once you start finding yourself thinking,
Mm.
something's not adding up, let me do a quick Google search. Chances are,
Ingxaki ikhona
where
ekhaya.
are you finding
Mm.
resonance to this content? Why
Yes.
is this, explanation fitting of what you are experiencing? And
Yeah.
people that are in relationships, even struggling relationships, they don't go around Googling, is my partner a narcissist?
Mm.
You know, 10
Mm.
symptoms of narcissistic abuse. So that's also another red flag, wondering if they are, because
Okay.
discomfort cannot be imagined. You cannot
Mm.
imagine that you are uncomfortable, yet you are not uncomfortable,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Mm. Mm.
And I
Mm.
want
Mm.
us to talk about this.
Yes,
Narcissism,
please.
most obvious way to know in a romantic relationship. I know we're going to get to other relationships just now, is
Yeah.
gaslighting. That is the most easy thing to diagnose.
Please
Because
just break that down. What is that?
and
What does that mean?
gaslighting is distorting the other person's reality. So it's
Okay.
saying what they're experiencing is not real.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
That is the
Mm.
most common feature of all narcissists, irrespective of the type, that they
Yeah.
gaslight you. And this is how
Sure.
you get to confirm. Because in a normal relationship, even a partner that is in disagreement with your standpoint validates your experience of the standpoint. They just don't agree
Mm.
with you.
Mm.
And
Mm. Mm.
narcissists disputes
Invalidate.
that the reality is the reality. And that is the psychological removal of your capacity to make a judgment call, that what you see
Mm.
is what you see. You trust
Mm.
yourself, what you feel is what you feel. Because when you feel neglected, they're saying they are not neglecting you. When
Mm.
you feel like they're cheating, they say they are not cheating on you. And then they promise you things that they don't give to you. So they almost deny the bad things that happened, and then they affirm the good things that never happened. So they say they
Sure.
love you, but they don't. They say, I'm committed to you, marry you, and even have kids with you, but they aren't
Mm.
actually committed to you. And then when they cheat on you, they can
Sure.
deny a screenshot. And narcissists can deny a screenshot to your face.
They.
That is how far they will take the gaslighting. That the
Wow.
evidence that the next person is undisputable. A narcissist will deny that
You.
and make you
In other
feel
words,
like,
you can find yourself, like, you can think that you are mad. You can actually get like a breakdown, mental breakdown. Eh?
of course, that is why narcissism is called an
Wow.
erasure of self. They erase your ability to think clearly. This
Mm.
is why people can't live, because to live with Patrick, you need to first
Mm.
know that what I'm feeling is what I'm feeling. I feel
Mm.
neglected. I feel unloved.
Mm.
first they remove your conviction to know this for sure, to know anything for sure, because that which you know, they say you don't know. That which you don't know, they say you know. They say you know the love that is in there, the commitment and support that is in there. And then the things you know for sure, like they are cheating and they're lying and they're violating of your boundaries, they say those things don't exist. So most people, man, it's basic human right to know yourself and live in your body. That's just basic to all humans. You know when you're hungry, you know when you're satisfied, you know when you need to go to the bathroom, you know yourself, you know yourself. How pervasive can somebody's abuse be that they convince you that what you feel is not what you feel? How far have they gone?
High level of invalidation.
This is how sophisticated the abuse is, that they convince you, who has lived inside of you all your life, that what you feel is not what you feel. Why do you think this person would then have the guts to trust that they can leave you, to trust that they can build a life outside of you, when they cannot tell anymore, even black from white?
Sure.
They paralyze you. They paralyze you, and then they ask you, if I was so abusive, why didn't you leave? If it was so bad, why didn't you run? Whereas first they removed your conviction to know it is bad. Because the bad things, they downplay them, they deny them, they distort them. So you are never sure. So for the people that are wondering, why did I stay for so long? Because you need to be sure to leave. You need to be sure. And with a narcissist, you will never reach the position of being sure. I encourage people, Patrick, to summon the courage. I know it's hard to act on your instinct alone. I know it's hard. We're always waiting for them to admit it. We're always waiting for them to say, I'm sorry. To always say, you are saying the right thing. I really did what you're saying I did. I encourage to summon the courage to know that your instinct is sufficient. Instinct is sufficient. And the people that eventually left, I applaud their courage to live in the absence of evidence, to just believe that my discomfort is enough.
Wow.
You will never get society validation because of the question that you asked. Narcissists can be found in all forms of relationship. But the demand and ask on intimacy is higher on romantic relationships. So this is why they do better in other roles, except for the ones that require real intimacy. So yes, a narcissist will mistreat you behind closed doors, but will likely be a good leader, will likely be a good pastor, will likely be a good politician, and be functional in these roles. So you will always look like you are the only one that is seeing them in this light, which is again the appetite that you are wrong. Another form of gaslighting, because no one else is likely to know them in this way. Because narcissism primarily is an inability to connect. And a leadership role doesn't demand as high an investment on connection. So they can wing it. Superficially, they can wing it. Narcissists can act. They can act a role. So even if they are good at other things, I need you to be okay with that. That I'm not going to deny that they are good as a leader. Because this is the thing, the people who know them from the better spaces will invalidate your experience of them. Because I find it's just unlike them. That will always be the common thing. It's unlike them. You were there. You were there. You know what you know.
You experienced it.
Yes. So it's romance and parenting that will make you experience the injuries of narcissism the deepest. Because you see them more frequently. So the cracks also start to show because they can't act 24 hours a day. Whereas at work, you can pull up a front for a few hours in a board meeting, for a conference, for that. It's with the family and their romantic partners, the people in close proximity.
Yes. Oh my God.
That it's hard. So they hurt the closest ones the most.
The most. Wow. Okay. Let me just look at the people that have joined us. Man, I see. Oh, ubhuthumzile Mkhosana, good to see you. Makhosana, good to see you. Bhuti Malungi Mbele, good to see you. Malungi Monica Mkwali, Sisinzani, Saunders, Nontutuzelo, Magatyeni, Mntwana sekhaya, Nontutuzelo Pikoli Mveli, Mandlela Mzingeli, good to see you. Mancoba, Asesh, Dibashe Ntleki, Monezi Ntleki, good to see you. Wena Sukwini, nanku unoma wethu Maqethuka, Thunzilele, Ulindelwa Khoboji, good to see you. Zoleka, Charlotte Ndlovu, Makacheni, good to see you. There are so many people that are joining us. And if you have got any question, please feel free. Also on YouTube, I see that Sinotandukazi Sandlana. Uti, it's my first time here and I'm going nowhere. Thank you so much, Sisi. Uti Naye, thank you for the platform. And I'd like, by the way, on that point, just to encourage everyone to please subscribe to this channel on YouTube. It's called Moments of Insight and Growth. We are growing right here now as we're speaking. We are just finding so many insights, terms, and ideas that can help us to really understand and be aware of the kind of relationship environments that we're finding ourselves in. Now, let me just ask this question. And by the way, if you've got any question, those of you who are joining us either online or somewhere, please make sure that you send your question either way. Nakusbusiso Fakude, hey man, how are you doing? Precise and beautiful articulation. Unyansile Sbu. Very, very precise and articulative. Now, now, I would like us, now that we've identified what narcissism is, what are the characteristics of it, and found that it can happen in all types of relationships. I did a bit of digging because I wanted to know myself whether or not I feel I fit in any of these. And I just want to hear your comments on it. I read up or heard a woman called Anita Phillips and another one called Dr. Ramani talking about types of narcissism, in different platforms, obviously. And they talked about a classical grandiose narcissist, someone who's really, all the kinds of issues that you're talking about. A malignant narcissist, covert, ongabonakaliyo, and a communal, umntu nje ofuna uthando owenza izinto such that they can be acknowledged. Can you just give us briefly, you talked about a what you called it, a spectrum of narcissism. Can you just make a comment on what I said now and just tell us about your own view of this spectrum of narcissism?
Yeah, so what the subtypes basically tell us is that, and this is useful for the people in these relationships, is that narcissists don't look the same.
It doesn't look the same.
It doesn't look the same.
Yes.
They don't look the same. This is why most people will be defensive and be like, this sounds evil and malicious. And he isn't like that. They almost jump to their defense because maybe they are with a covert narcissist and they are hearing this aggressive, calculating, deceitful, nature. And they're like, he's not like that though. He's not like that. I need them to understand he's not that type of narcissist. That is essentially what we're trying to say, that he is not that type of narcissist.
Yes.
The most dangerous of, because this spectrum means, is it obvious or is it not obvious? And overt narcissist, malignant, sadistic, these things typically mean, will they hit you? Is it obvious or is it not obvious? The most important type to look out for here. An overt narcissist, whether malignant or sadistic or whatever, is obvious. You will be able to tell. They are arrogant. They think highly of themselves. They are dismissive of other people. These are the people that they come in a suit and we just cannot deal with the arrogance. Confidence people know that they are great, but they don't care if other people know that they are great. It's easy to tell an overt narcissist because they know they're amazing and they want all of us to know that they're amazing and we must feel it that they're amazing. Except for a covert narcissist. Except for a covert narcissist. And these people are generally in professions that are deemed to help. Pastorship, politics, running institutions. And these are the people whose narcissism is felt mostly by intimate people in their lives. Because they are calculating in having a brand and a persona. And the dangerous thing about all narcissists is that they genuinely believe they are good people, especially the COVID narcissist. Because they usually have a track record, a political party, a church, and a business. They usually have evidence of them being good people, yet they're not good people to you. So a COVID narcissist is the most dangerous form of narcissist, in that you are likely to be the only one who knows, you who was on the receiving end. They are unlikely to hit you, they are unlikely to be violent, but they are going to feel what is common about them is the deprivation to the people that they are with, because they can't connect to people, whether they are going to punch them, whether they're going to manipulate them, whether they're going to cheat on them. The bottom line with all of them is that they are unsafe for your attachment needs. They are unsafe. You cannot trust them with your attachment needs. Other people can trust them with money. Other people can trust them with policies. You cannot trust them with your attachment needs. They don't possess the capacity. Yes, the smarter ones may even sound intellectual, like they've got insight. Knowing about something doesn't actually mean they know how to do it or possess the tools. So even if they manage to swindle some form of apology because they know they are supposed to be sorry, listen to you in the resonance of this apology. Are you experiencing their remorse? Do you feel repair to the injury that was caused to you? Because a smart narcissist can start using the language that is right in relationships. Yet it is empty, like that empty bottle that you mentioned, where you're like, what is sorry, but
it's sucking you in, eh? Just like a fish in the sea.
Narcissistic relationships do exist. They can be intact. They can run for a very long time. The quality of the relationship will always tell how thin it is in quality and satisfaction. You will be lonely in the relationship because nobody is actually attached to you. And yes, you will feel valuable, and they will respect and honor you for the duration that they find value in your availability in their lives. So usually when they begin to love bomb, they need something from you, be it sexual conquest, be it the admiration you have of them, be it support, be it to help them do something. So they will love bomb you well while they find you something of value.
Okay.
Human beings' value is not conditional. It's always there. So
it's
a person
always
that's
there.
able to later discard you, they never quite valued you. And a narcissist will, when they find a new source of supply, begin to devalue you.
Sure. Wow.
You will not feel their hunger for adventure, for a new feeling, for thrill, for excitement, because they connect for a different reason, supply. We connect for a different reason, connection and love. So you will eventually run out of supply, and they will find someone else who's more useful. And when they do, they will throw you away like you meant absolutely nothing to them.
Wow.
Nothing to them.
Does it matter to them that, let's say, you have children with them?
No.
You know, you've got experiences with them.
It doesn't. The children themselves would be a means to an end to a narcissist, to fight a custody battle. When you know that they won't stop at anything to get what they need, nobody's safe. There is no cost. Most people want something, but most of us will. There is a line we will not cross to get what we want, even if we really want it. The thing with a narcissist is that they are superior to everyone else, and they will stop at nothing. There is no cost. There are no scruples. There are no barriers. So you aren't enough. You aren't special. Don't try that game of thinking you are going to be the one to fill that void for them. Learn to date people that are whole. And if you fall in love with one while you don't know that they're not whole, as soon as you figure it out, admit that it was a fantasy and take a step back and walk away.
Wow.
And walk away.
Mamela ke make sithi nqumama kancinci, just pause at this point, because I mean there's so much that we've taken in. and people are making comments here, and I'd like, and I don't know where the time went. Do you have a little bit more minutes just for us
I
to
do.
take? Okay, you
Yes, I
let me know
do.
when you really have to go. Uh,
Okay.
but I just want to read some of the things that people are saying here. Uti ukhaya umgodeli uti wow, umaleshwana uti they are vampires, they suck you dry. Beauty slash Kotela uti I'm glued here. I can't even move. Highly appreciating Ziyanda. Her expertise, her passion comes through. Thanks, prepared for bringing this giant. Indeed. Um, say sorry, but which was Nazo. I saw another group of messages that I'd like just to read here so that I don't leave anything out. Um, where are those messages that I saw here from? I saw Okatien Mbunge asking questions, um, but I'll get back to them about this. Now, Zianda, let's just look into this. Yogok
So
Bangaba.
that, yeah, that
Can
person is spot on. That person who said they're energy vampires is the most
mm,
accurate description.
mm,
Because in a normal relationship of reciprocity, give and take, you never quite
yes,
run dry because as much as you are pouring into the next person, they are actually
yes,
presumably doing the same thing. So
mm,
nobody's really sucking anybody dry. You are being watered and they're being watered. And that is what love is. Love is
mm,
giving. That's what you mean
mm,
when you love someone. I want to give something to you. I love you, me. There's love
mm,
inside of me that I want to give to you. And if they love you too, there's love inside of them that they want to give to you. So there's only
yeah,
someone who's giving somebody love. When she said or he said they're energy vampires,
mm,
it's accurate in that they want what is inside of you to come to them. They
yes,
don't want to give anything to you.
mm, 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 mm,
Suck you dry, and depending on the type of narcissist they are, they will suck your money dry, they will suck your intellect dry, they will suck your emotions dry.
mm,
It's
mm,
just not
mm,
worth it. It's not worth it. I know most people ask, do they change though?
mm. They, they never change.
Romance usually happens when a person is older. So if a person in their adult life hasn't learned something as basic as compassion,
Mm,
why would you want to take on that responsibility?
mm,
That
mm,
way, now
mm,
in these years, you're gonna teach them.
mm,
What's
mm,
the
mm.
likelihood that you're gonna succeed?
Wow,
If a
wow, wow.
person who is 30, 40, 50 has not
Mm.
in 50 years developed empathy, don't you
Yo,
think it's
yo.
really ambitious to think your love is gonna be sufficient to achieve the turnaround?
Oh,
Yet
Kosia.
everybody they met before you didn't achieve that, including their parents. And don't do this. I know we think love is transformative and can achieve anything, and we want to love people out of their struggles.
Mm, 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 mm,
Just,
mm.
it's a lot,
And
it's
by
a
the
big
way,
gamble. It's a big gamble.
it's a big gamble. Uti yena umaleshwane Tabang. She says, I'm speaking from experience and I survived. There was another question here, I think by Usinazo, which was saying, can parents sort of transfer? I just caught a glimpse of that. I've been looking for it. Can they transfer these narcissistic tendencies to their children?
Most children of narcissists become narcissists.
Oh,
And not
good.
even because it's hereditary, because your
Yeah.
primary caregivers at the template of attaching. Because generally,
Mm,
when you're a kid, you can't walk, you can't go anywhere, you can't really relate and attach to other people. So there usually isn't
mm,
alternatives to teach you a corrective experience. Your parents are the immediate. So most
yes.
people of pervasive neglect from their own parents, because the parent is a narcissist,
Mm,
become narcissists because they have a contempt and a lack of respect for connection to other people. They don't care how other people
mm,
feel. Generally, because nobody cared. The difference with narcissists as well is that you'll see that they struggle to cherish things, to make their partners feel special,
yeah.
because you are
Mm,
not special. Bottom
yeah.
line, you're not.
Ngabo ba special, ngabo.
Remember, how do we know how to make people feel like they're special? Because we know how it feels like from our own
Mm,
lives. We
mm,
know how it feels like to be special. We know what needs to
yes.
be done to make a person feel special because we've been
Mm,
treated like we are special.
yeah.
And narcissist does not
Yeah.
have this trait, and in all likelihood, they have never been cherished
Mm,
themselves. So the
mm,
act of knowing how to cherish you is a far-fetched skill. So yes, children of narcissists at a very high risk because there is no value to them for attachment. There is no
Sure.
expectation for quality attachment from others to them. They don't care. They don't know what to do with affection. And they don't have the tools because the parent who was supposed to help cultivate the tools was a narcissist. They didn't care about them. So yes, in narcissistic homes, there likely is going to be narcissistic children that are being raised there. What makes these children stand a chance is having alternatives to the primary caregiver that's a narcissist, so that your mother or father isn't your only source of attachment. So once they've experienced alternatives, you can see that, oh, okay, they tend to sort of outgrow, there's competition for that
They
parent's
saw the other
influence.
side as well.
Yes.
They were
And the
made
nice thing
feel
is
that.
that because narcissists can't sustain relationships, the lucky thing, which is unfortunate, is that usually they divorce and the caregiver that is more nurturing tends to take the children. Then those children stand a better chance because although their parent is a narcissist, they didn't actually live with them because the
Yeah.
relationship crumbled and somebody moved out. So that's the
Yeah.
luck. But if you're living with this person ongoingly, chances of you learning how to form meaningful attachments, if
Yeah.
they are the primary source of your attachment needs.
All right. Ziyanda, I just want to make sure that the time that we have now, we really engage with our comments because there's some powerful comments that are coming through here. Nango Andi Somazoko, she's also another psychologist in that field as well. Udi, thank you so much. I've been lacking words to explain narcissists to my clients. Very good lady, this one. She is also expressing her own appreciation of you here. Uyaphinde uyabuya kwakhona uthi they never change. You're dealing with an adult baby. Wow. Usibiya Papama uthi yo Papama or Papama, I don't know. Yo Mhlekazi, this should be a chapter in youth seminars to prepare the youth for relationships and marriages. She's correct. Umfundisi uVuyani Mcwecha, siyoyo, good to see you, Buwe. Uthi, as pastors, we are not intricate on behavioral issues. Are there lay courses that can assist us? I think the powerful question, this one. Powerful and relevant program, guys. Uyabuya kwakhona uAndiswa athi, definitely yes, parents do transfer this. I think she is agreeing with what you are saying. Can you just make a comment on two issues? One, the one that is raised by Umgwecha up. The second one, in my research on this, it turns out that a big chunk from research, scientific research, is that the males are more likely to be narcissistic. Is that your own understanding as well? And if it is, why so? And so, if you can just combine these two questions with the pastor's question there.
Okay. So yes, most narcissists are actually males. And
Yeah, but my
socialization, socialization has a lot to do with that. Because apart from it being a personality issue, society also grooms men to have contempt and disregard for the softer side of emotions. That it's almost discouraged, for you to display excessive regard for the next person. There's a preservation thing that males are groomed to have, and that anything that is a hint of vulnerability is usually discouraged or exploited. So you become vulnerable. As a result, the males sort of grow on the softer side. Generally, people will assume that they're homosexual, will almost exploit them as victims of sexual assault, or straight out be homophobic to them and call them gay. So there's bullying, there is rejection from society, there is an overt discouragement towards the male child to be a nurturing person, to value
Hey.
nurturing, to practice it. Because remember, nobody's born empathetic. Nobody. Even, the people that grew up to be warm and kind, you were not just born that way. Developmental opportunities to watch what it looks like, to experience what it feels like, gives you ongoing practice on how to nurse attachment dynamics. The male child is not exposed to such many opportunities. Ukhulela phaa ekoneni with other boys, amongst each other. They are away from females that are known to be warm and nurturing, and their fathers which usually, because the migrant labor system also had a lot to do with this, that most males work far away from home. So there isn't even a template from another male to teach you how to
Hey,
mail right. Your dad is there
azobona umuntu
in
kwenziwa
Johannesburg.
njani.
So they are winging it,
Mm,
learned there from the booty in the corner, learned there from the cool guy at school, learned there ngumkokotelo wemasculinity ekudityaniswe here and there, because the paternal
hey,
figures to model
mm,
this. So behavior for children is modeled. Children are born knowing absolutely
mm,
nothing, nothing. We script experiences in the lives of our children. People are
mm,
scripted in experience, and people are unscripted in experience. You
mm,
have to
mm,
learn, to give people experiences of trust for them to learn that the world is safe, experiences of
mm,
love to know that the world is unloving. Where do males experience this? Males hang around other males in their
mm,
corners where they are not giving this to each other, where their paternal figures were not around to give this to them. So yes,
mm,
most narcissists tend to be males, because this disorder ifikele emntwini obehlele engekho too far from the edge.
mm, mm, kakade.
Somebody
Hey,
who was already close,
mm,
to this disregard for compassion and empathy
mm,
and warmth and all of those things, and little
mm, mm,
opportunities
mm.
to practice it, and no value
Yo,
for it, because once you invest in it, people ridicule you or reject you, or parents punish
hey,
you because you're weak or whatever. So the boy child is vulnerable to narcissism,
mm,
developing
mm, mm,
narcissistic
mm,
qualities.
mm, mm.
Not
Because
that
of
it is
socialization.
something inherently in their agenda. They are
Mm,
groomed to be easy
mm,
recipients of picking up that
mm.
pathology.
Umzukisi says, yo, uxandiva lumi phezu kwethu madoda. That is true. That is true. Now, there are authority figures like pastors, like leaders of churches, or even elderly people in the families or in the community that we normally go to because we think that they can help us. Please make a comment on that. And also, are there short courses that people like pastors who actually deal with these things on a day-to-day basis can be trained, or are there places where I'm going to recommend some YouTube channels where people can also learn about this thing for self-learning? But how can people empower themselves to be able to understand this, short of referring people to professionals like yourself, Zianda?
Yeah, and this is very important, because people who steward over humans need
Mm,
to understand the intricacies of human behavior, because you can't fully and really take care of something that you don't understand. So an
mm,
investment into understanding the human psyche is necessary for anyone who leads a pack of humans. And
mm,
to extract the
mm,
highest value from them, you need to understand them well, and to protect them, you also need to understand human injuries well. So it's almost a
mm,
necessity for leaders to be psychologically sophisticated. It's,
mm,
it's a
mm,
necessity.
mm,
If there are
mm,
humans under you and humans looking up to you, you gotta invest in understanding the human psyche. It is a responsibility of being a good steward. That how can I
mm,
fully steward over something I don't fully comprehend?
mm,
Um, there was in PE an organization called Lifeline. It's called Revive now. And
mm.
they used to have something that they call a personal growth course. So they may have other partners in other cities, because Lifeline is actually a national thing.
National, yes,
Um,
yeah.
and such, personal growth courses. Life coaches are also always offering, a 3-day thing, of personal growth and personal development, and your own insight and understanding of your own psyche is always the best way to learn and understand the psyche of
Mm,
others.
mm,
Um,
mm, mm.
but as for
Okay.
formalized training, unfortunately, it would have to be a formal scholastic thing. So hence,
Yes.
listening to these professionals teach on their
Mm,
podcasts, on their YouTube channels. A lot of psychologists are fond of teaching.
mm.
Dr. Raman is a good narcissistic teacher. In
Yeah.
simple, basic terms. Another lady called Maria Consiglio is also another important voice in the narcissistic
Mm,
space. I have a YouTube channel / podcast as well.
mm,
So literally, to just invest in content from these professionals who have learned this thing, to transfer that knowledge to you would
mm,
be a wise call. But making yourself available to self-development and learning opportunities. There's always a lot of seminars, that are being hosted by event organizers, mental health talks, depression and anxiety in the church, and all of those things, and making yourself available to that.
Wow, wow. And this is really powerful for those people who are leaders. Sometimes people are leaders of their own homes. You're a single mom to your children. You are a leader. You are a single dad, or whatever the case may be. You are a leader. So it's important that I found when I was preparing for this conversation that there's a lot of stuff on on the YouTube videos about this kind of some of the people, and I'm a Christian, so I sort of listen more also to some of the Christian Dr. Phillips, very very great mental health specialist. I'm just gonna write everything down here, but I think you, Zianda, also are a very great resource in this regard. Let me just make sure that I read Nanku Upper. We were joined by other people that I may have missed. Mr. Bayanda Mkula, Madoda. Captain, good to see you. Onjengele, one of the top military men. Fezeka Khenga, good to see you as well. Tokyelo Albumbe, Pikoli, Sbiya Papama, Tembeka, Tembi, good to see you, man. Miss John Flamer, good to see you, my elder. So many people in this platform. I'm telling you, umthutu mini uzoleka chavunduka. Yo, good to see you. Nakulove Cincin. Uthi nibondibiza bethuna xa kuthethwa izinto ezipeculula ubuntu. Ubalulekile lo mcimbi. Enkosi Ziyanda, nawe lonwabo sihlobo sam. Good to see you, wena Cincin. I'm so happy that you managed to join us. And by the way, for those people who may have missed this, please, you can come back and watch it. Please share this to as many people as possible, and like this video, subscribe to this channel. Uti and Mbebe, good to see you, Makai. Uti yo diafika, but I will surely catch up. Yes, please. Uti umfundisi ubuwe kwakhona. This may be a bit offside, but related to understanding human behavior. Everyone tends to be a life coach these days. You are correct, but we are not privy to what their actual training is. Any insight on how one becomes a life coach and the training of the courses related to that? Fundis, that's a powerful question that you asked there. Usibiya Papama Uti, healing the masculine soul should be prioritized. By the way, we had a program like that with Dr. Papu in the past, healing the masculine soul. Everyone who wants to look into that can look at it, but it was not necessarily from a psychologist, a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist perspective. I think we need to have a look at that perspective. But let me just, as a person who's a trained coach, Dr. Mfundisi Upuwe, I trained for almost 18 months to a year to 18 months at UCT. They have at the UCT Graduate School of Business, there's a center for coaching there. I did my coaching there. It's referred to as integral coaching, and there's a certification. You can be certified even with International Coaching Federation. There's a lot of those people who just show up and call themselves life coach. Ask them what is their credibility, what is their qualification. Some do not even have any experience for that matter. They just go. So there are training courses that happen on coaching. Some people call themselves life coach. Some, for example, I'm a leadership executive or personal coach. Others call themselves others. But the most important thing is you have to go through a training to be able to deal with a human being. A human being is a huge creation of God, and so you cannot just wing it. And that's why we bring here people like Zianda who are trained in this regard. Okay, Zianda, you may want to comment. We've heard Cincin, we've heard Domfunsupuwe, we've heard people, but you may want to maybe comment, and because I want us to close with is there a pill that people can take to control their narcissistic personality disorder, or is it just a matter that cannot be addressed. And secondly, we've got young kids. I've got daughters and son here, and I'd like to equip them in terms of how can they make sure that they don't land into relationships like this. What can they do? Two questions in one.
Yeah. So the first one was medicating it. No, because this is such a relational and developmental injury, it would take a corrective experience of such nature to begin to redress it. The reason narcissistic prognosis is so poor and people don't change is because you need to find this exercise valuable as a person. And the hallmark feature of this disorder is that they don't. So to attend psychotherapy, to appreciate the advice and counsel of another, you literally first have to believe that other people except for you have a brain. And the things that they think are valuable, that people aren't just a resource to be a means to an end to you. That sitting and connecting is something that is a valuable exercise. And that you to redress something that has been ingrained over so many years is going to take so much more years, in therapy.
Yes.
And they just don't follow through with that because this needs an in-depth conviction that this is worth it to see therapy. I mean, even if you're not narcissistic, therapy is very hard. Staring at your mess in the mirror is very, very hard. Now, imagine it's somebody who believes they are not capable of fault, to force them to say it. So it's not that they would be beyond repair. It's that there's no appetite for them because this repair, unfortunately, needs the connection of another. And by definition, they don't see that as something that is important. They don't. So this is why I say to most people, if professionals find their prognostic outcome to be poor, why do you want to gamble with your life and think that you, as the romantic partner, is going to be special enough, to transform this? That assign the responsibility to them, that you live amongst humans. If you decide humans are worthwhile to treat well, you will go take responsibility for that. And you're more than welcome to come find me when you believe you possess the capacity to treat me well. So if you believe they're going to be fine, support their journey and their commitment to their investment to be well. Don't be the therapy center for them. Otherwise, you're going to run out as well. Nobody has limited supply. So if they're not pouring back and you just pouring into them to help them, eventually you are going to run out. And then the children and, sort of giving them a heads up. Narcissism is very difficult to pick up. Very difficult to pick up. There's no amount of intellect or whatever that can actually protect you from being duped by a narcissist because superficially they look and sound and talk like other human beings.
Yeah.
It's when the ask of intimacy gets bigger that you get to realize that they are failing. Be that as it may, when you know something legitimately, you are better able and better trained to have an eye that can detect and feel a counterfeit experience of it. So the biggest investment to your children is to know real love. So that, not that they must avoid a narcissist, but to be able to tell, but
I see you.
I may not have the language to describe what I'm experiencing here, but I know love. And this one that I'm feeling, I don't know what it is, but it is definitely not love.
Not it.
So we're not all properly trained at being secure and knowing a secure attachment because of our own attachment injuries and childhood traumas and that kind of thing. And the best thing you can do for your children is for them to be able to know the legitimate experience of being loved, in hope that when they're experiencing a counterfeit, you can't really protect them from falling in love with the counterfeit, but may it never resonate. May it feel so foreign, in their bodies that is intolerable and they cannot manage to stay. So that is the biggest thing to teach our children, to believe their instinct, do not invalidate what they feel. They must always know that your discomfort is your discomfort and it will be acted upon, and that your instinct is enough. We don't need proof. We don't need another thing except for what you are saying to believe that you are experiencing reality that way, so that they learn to trust themselves, so that even if they never get to know they're a narcissist, they just know that I don't feel safe here. I don't feel well here. I don't feel nurtured here. And therefore, I'm going to.
Wow. Sure. Hey, guys, I think we're wrapping up now. We're wrapping up. I just want to read what people are saying here. Utu Andy Somazoko, I've always found motivational interviews to be working with such complex pathologies. It allows them to tell the that what they are doing than be told by someone else. Hear their voices better. Uti Malishwane, I know she's also a coach. Uti, I wanted to help him. I think that's a experience. And my coaching tools didn't work on him. That's when I realized that I was dealing with someone bigger than myself, and I ran. Lucky you. I think there's also this whole issue of behavior modification and mindset change from u-Andy Somazoko. UPrincess Makubalo omhle niya Makazi. Uti, thank you, Sister Yanda. I wish more people can listen to this. By the way, please, when a princess, more people can listen to this if we who are watching can share it, and if we can subscribe to this channel, and even go and subscribe to Zianda's channel, which is called I Am Okay. All right, I Am Okay. And so just want to make sure that I haven't left anyone else out. And if I have, please forgive me. It is not out of malice. But guys, I think we've taken even more time from our guest here, and she's done a very splendid job. And I'm sure, Zianda, I will have to call you again to
For
come.
part two.
There's so much to unpack on this subject, and I think today you've done a lot already. You've done really a lot to unpack it for us. But I think there's more elements that we can maybe take forward. Now, I just want you to ask you, how can people who may want your services get hold of you, who may want your book, who may want to join to subscribe to your channel, your website, whatever the case may be? And then if you can just share with us how people can get hold of you. Do you work online, or do you work only physically? Go
No, I
ahead.
do. A lot of my
Mhm.
clients are actually virtual in that they usually know me from the internet. So they usually know me from YouTube or a talk
Yes.
that I did somewhere. So it's always people from, and COVID was a wonder in that way, that it
Mm.
forced us into that corner to explore that alternative of virtual
Yes.
mediums. So yes, I do
Mhm.
work virtually. And the book is available on my website. It would usually take
Mm.
about 3 to 5 days to get to the customer after ordering. And that
Yes.
website is ziandamav.co.za. But I'm
Zianda
going to
Marv.
send Ziandamav, yes. But I'm going to
Okay.
send you a poster that you can just pin to the conversation so that when the people come catch up later,
Yes.
they can see that it's retailing at 215. And for the people that
Yes.
joined late, it's called You Are Okay, but the stuff that happened to you wasn't.
Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. And people can get hold of you in that way, in terms of how they can access your services as
Yes,
well.
because on the same
Uh,
website, you will see my email address and all of those things.
Okay, because I can see here also Andy Swai saying, I would like to hook up with you. I think she's based in Cape Town, and she's in this field as well. Really, Bucha, thank you so much. Sisinzani, uyabuya uthi, please call her back. I will call her back. The masses have spoken, Zianda. You can see that this has touched a nerve on so many of us. And in preparing for this last night as well, I was just thinking to myself, man, um, am I this thing? And I needed to really understand. And so today, all of us can listen to what is we are saying, and sort of see, if we were part or we are on the spectrum, because there are elements of arrogance in some of us, elements of self-centeredness. But at some point, there's a you talked about, there's a line that we all tip over. And then when the person who is at the receiving end of this experience feels something is not right, it's not their needs, their attachment needs are not being met, they are the one that should validate their own feelings. Otherwise, this other person is not going to validate. Instead, they are going to invalidate it. So, can you maybe share your last comments, Zianda, just to empower people, and then we can call it a day?
Yes, I can. I think the amount of grief, associated with these relationships is unreal.
Mm,
Even for the people that have successfully managed to leave,
mm,
because you lose so much of who you are. And it's so disappointing because you usually got into it with such great intent, the intent to connect, the intent to love. So for someone to exploit the basic nature of being a good person is very disappointing. And narcissists search for good people likely to
mm,
forgive, people likely to overlook, people likely to give benefit of the doubt. So
mm,
imagine a good person that was offering these things in genuineness, and somebody handpicked you for that reason to exploit your goodness. It's
mm,
violating at the most humane level. And neglect
mm,
is very, very close to what apartheid bullies did. So neglect
mm.
may seem subliminal, but to treat a human like they're less than a human
Yeah.
is paramount to murder.
Mm.
That's the worst thing you can do to another person, to not treat them like they're a worthwhile human being.
Hey, hey.
So to recover from that is a very, very long mountain to
Mm,
begin to feel worthwhile again and to be open
mm,
to receiving from people that nurture and love you.
mm,
It's a nightmare to date a narcissist. It takes
mm,
courage to leave a narcissist because there's no map for such. There's a map for
mm,
breakups with people that
mm,
loved you, but there's no
mm.
map for a breakup with someone who acted the entire relationship. It's hard to already grieve for something that existed. Imagine finding yourself having to grieve for something that you did not even have. It's like a phantom
Sure.
pregnancy. Yet the grief is so real. Yet you are crying
Mm,
for something that did, in fact, not exist. It's
mm,
confusing, it's painful, but we believe you.
mm.
Society may not believe you because there's no overt injuries, but we believe you and we are prepared to walk that journey back home into your wholeness with you. You dated
Mm,
somebody who has the incapacity. This has nothing to do
mm,
with you. Capacity
mm.
inside of you isn't there. People can't give you something that they don't have. So
They
if they
don't
don't have
have,
love
yes.
to give, they can't give you love. If they don't have commitment to give, and the beauty of it is that narcissists are poorly committed to themselves, can't see
Mm.
anything through, can't really hold themselves accountable to their own goals. It's not just
Hey.
you. So these
Mm,
people betray themselves time and time again. Don't worry,
mm.
go fix your own recovery and don't outsource it to them, thinking they will one
To
day
them.
realize
Oh, because yeah.
and come apologize. They're not going to. They are not going to. And the sooner you can talk to your heart with releasing them from the obligation to do that, the quicker you can heal. That I release them from the obligation to come. Because
Mm,
I know injustice feels unfair. You feel like you
mm,
deserve an apology and you want them to
mm.
admit it. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to
Believe
happen.
me, you were there. You don't need them to come say, I really hurt you.
Mm,
You were there,
mm,
you know
mm.
that you got hurt, and that is sufficient.
Wow. 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 Thank you so much, Zianda. I think people are saying you must come back. Utu Beauty Upper Kotela. Please, Magabu, she's loaded with empowering content. I think we're going to make another time for you to come back. I've just posted some of the people that I looked up when I was preparing Dr. Anita Phillips and Ramadi Vasula. But I just wanted to maybe the observation from my side. It feels like these days we people move so fast in relationships that we don't give ourselves enough time to be able to even pick up these warning signs. Our relationships escalate so quickly. Meet someone quickly in a week, you've already together in bed, and it's sudden. It's everything is moving so fast that we don't find time and really to observe. We are so love bombed that we don't use our capacity to observe some of these things, and I think that's one of the reasons that are leading to this thing. Let me
We
just say
don't.
thank you again to you. I really appreciate this. You've empowered me. You've empowered a lot of people. And here at home, when we do our evening devotions, I'm going to play this with the family so that we can really just discuss it, so that we can. And I'd like to encourage everybody else to really engage as families with these topics and empower ourselves. And I want to thank everyone who has taken time to join us today and taken time to comment on us for us today. I want to say thank you so much. Unyansile Malishwana uthi we need a moment to breathe. We need a moment to do breathing exercise. There's so much that came out here so that we can really make our way. I can see you, Babu Konjwayo. Good to see you as well. For those that I couldn't pick up, please forgive me. Please, guys, come to this channel. We discuss matters like this and many more. And I want to thank you so much for being our loyal supporters. And I encourage you to subscribe again. Thank you so much. All the best, Zianda. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Yes, I'm going to go finish doing my hair. So this talk is because I attempted to do my hair for this talk and we had load shedding and we couldn't finish doing my hair. So this talk was not the plan. The talk was not the plan. I promise.
But it's just as beautiful as well. So, we do not know any better, but we appreciate that you took out time and just to be here. So thank you so much. And may God bless you and your kid as well. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Finish your nice hair and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that thought this was worth their time. We really, really honor that.
Thank you, Sisi. Thank you. Thank you so much. All the very best. And again, to those of you who keep sharing the posters that we share, I really want to thank you. I cannot thank you enough because more people get to know about this. Those of you who share these, what you call them, these links to your friends, to your families, I really cannot thank you enough. Thank you, Tandogazi. I can see you. Thank you for joining us, and I'd like to encourage you to stay with us on this thing. Thank you, Putuam. Although I got the last part of the program, it was worth the time. You got the last part. You can get all of it again, both on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Ulindela Khoboji uti enkosi kakhulu sisiyanda. Thank you nakuwe Lindelwa for joining us and becoming part of this conversation. Let's get it going. Make your comments, submit your own resources, people that you know that can help us in this regard. YouTube videos or books. You can buy Zianda's book as well so that we can all be helped on this thing. We can identify even people that are, that are having this problem. You can also be helped by just being aware of the issue that you have so that you can relate or regulate your interaction with people. And, so, of course, I see you, Mdasekai, ngapha sibiya papama uthi siyabonga. Good to see you. Sisi, thank you so much to all of you who have joined us until we meet again. There's so much going on, and we need as many skills, as much information as possible so that we can cope in this life. Relationships are some of the most intimate and yet difficult terrains to master. And then if you happen to be in a narcissistic relationship, your life can be miserable. And so if you are in it, Zianda said, try and find your way out. You're not going to be able to help this person because they don't see you as anyone. They are interested in self-interest. They don't have empathy. They don't have sympathy. They don't have compassion. They blame you. They gaslight. All of these characteristics that we had here. You know your relationship. You know how you're experiencing. Don't invalidate your own experience. And pastors and leaders, we all need to be empowered so that we can know how to help people. Thank you, guys. I'm going to love you and leave you at this point to get ready for tomorrow. And I hope you have a great, great week. Enjoy it. And as we transition to the week of work and relationships at work, and I read that some of the leaders, some of the most powerful leaders, who are making it in business, they are using narcissistic tendencies to bulldoze, to demoralize, to get financial results. And the world the business world, the political world, the leadership world rewards such behavior. Hence, these people are able to sustain this behavior for so long. But now you have been empowered to really be able to pick up if your boss is narcissistic, whether they are covertly or overtly or malignant, whatever thing is. Now you're empowered to know, and you can work out how you relate to them by protecting your own sanity and protecting your own self. Thank you, guys. Cheers. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Feels bad to leave people that are still live, that are still online. I can see people are still there. I don't want to leave you here, but I've got to go. My family needs me, and I need to prepare for the week as well. Okay. Any subject matter you want us to look into, please send me a message and I will look into it. Thank you. All the best. God bless you. Mpho njani uMonica Mgwali? I missed you. And there's no one else. Zupisi Pezisa. Good to see you. If it so happens that I miss you, forgive me. All the best. Cheers.